so shrouded, and I've been thinking about it. Everything getting so shrouded. I just been spitting my flows, I just been spitting my flows, I just been ripping these shows, ripping these. Get it, this shit that I know. And I've been thinking about it. Everything getting so shrouded, and I've been thinking about it. Everything getting so shrouded. I just been spitting my flows, I just been spitting my flows, I just been ripping these shows, ripping these. Get it, this shit that I know. And I've been thinking about it. Everything getting so.
ආයිබෝන් මොකෝ එන්න කට්ටිය මට නින්ද ගියා යාළුවනේ වෙලාම් තියලා නැගිට්ටේ මේ පාන්දර 3යි වෙලා අනේ 4:00ම වෙලා අම්බෝ නින්ද ගියා යාළුවනේ මේ මට ඇහි පෙනේද කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න ඇසේ පෙනේද මට කෝල් එනවා මෙසේජ් එනවා නින්ද ගියා යාළුවනේ ඇහි පෙනේද හරි හරි බඩු වැඩ මේ මගේ PC එක ෆෝමැට් කළා ඊට පස්සේ ඔක්කොම අලුතෙන් දාන්න උනා ඊට පස්සේ මට මේ OBS එක ඔක්කොම ආයේ මුලින් ඉඳලා හදන්න උනා ඒ නිසා මොකද්ද මේ මගේ කැම් එකේ මේ ෆ්‍රේම් ඩ්‍රොප් එකක් යනවා මේ ඒක මේ මං ඒ හින්දා මේ කැමරා පොඩ්ඩක් ඕෆ් කරන්නද බලන් ඉන්න අමාරුයි මං හිතන්නේ මගේ මේ ඩේටා කේබල් එකේ පොඩි කේස් එකක් තියෙන අම්බෝ හිට වෙලාව කීයද කියලා නම් 4:32 වෙලාව මේ අම්මට සි ලොන්ච් එක යනවා ලොන්ච් එක යනවා හරි බඩු වැඩ මේ මං හිතන්නේ ෆියුල් පම්පින් පටන් අරන් තියෙන්නේ මට ඉස්සෙල්ලා බල ඉද්දි නම් පැය 5ක් විතර තිබ්බ ඊට පස්සේ මම නින්ද ගියා මොකද්ද මොකක්ද දන්නේ තාත්තේ බලන්න ෆියුල් පම්පින් පටන් අරන් තියෙන්නේ සිරා ෆ්‍රේම් ඩ්‍රොප් එක දැන් හරි ගියා පැයයි විනාඩි 26යි. යස්. ටෙක්සාස් වලට නම් දැන් වෙලා කීයද දැන් ටෙක්සාස් ටයිම් නම් මම හිතන්නේ පැය භාගයක් දුරද වෙනස් මට වැඩි. නෑ පැයක් වෙනස් 5:34 වෙලා. හරිනේ ඉතින් 4ටනේ තියනවා කිව්වේ. මං කියන්නේ ඇහුණා. බඩු වෙන. අපි බලමු එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට්. කොයකෝ එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට්. කවද දාපු ලයිද මන්ද යනවා මෙන්න මේ. මන් දැම්මේ නෑනේ මේ. මේක නෙමෙයි. මෙන්න මේක.
21CS with the $50 super chat saying happy to be supporting y'all for over a year now. Watching the developments in Starhopper has been exhilarating. Great coverage as always. Go NSF and go Starship. Thank you very much for that kind support. And as well, we have
යාළුවනේ
a
අම්මට
bunch of
මැසේජ්
people
එකක් දාන්න.
becoming members, including
කෝල් කරන්න
Angelus,
බෑ.
who has
YouTube එක
become
බලන්න
a
කියන.
flight engineer. That is the highest level of support that we have here at NASA Space Flight. So thank you very much for that. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, all of your support there. Oh boy. So Jack, I asked this of John, but I want to ask this of you now. What portion of flight are you most looking forward to on this launch?
What did John say?
I'm not going
First
to tell you. I
60
want to hear yours
seconds.
first.
Oh, I told
What did
him.
John say?
Oh.
පැය විනාඩි 23යි.
Wait, what? What did you? I missed it. I
මේ
couldn't
මං
hear
හිතුවේ
what you
නෑද
said.
මේක
I'm
තියෙයි
excited
කියලා.
for hot-
ඇත්තටම මං
That's
හිතුවේ මේ
personally
මොකද
the
ගේසෙක්
thing
කෑ
I'm
කියලා.
most excited for is hot staging.
බර මේ
It's just different.
එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට්. කොයකෝ එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට්.
Max Q, the hot firing, the staging, the flip,
ලිෆ්ට්
all the
ඔෆ්
things
ඉස්
they have to do
නෝලියද.
now. Focus on that. Once this is proven, there's no point in trying to load software and work on that, all of that thing. If there's only like a 20% chance it gets through reentry anyway. So for now, just send it, try to get it through reentry, see how it does, right? So and again, it's proven if it survives reentry and belly flops, and they're like, oh sweet, next time we'll
හරි අද අපි මේ සීන් එක ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරනවද? නැත්තම් මේක දිහා බලන් ඉන්නවද කතා කරලා ඉන්නේ. ඒක ආයේ මොනවා බලන්නද? බලන්න නම් තියෙනවා තාම නෑ. මේ පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. හෙලෝ එන හරි කේස් එක අද මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් තර්ඩ් ට්‍රැක පැල්ලා ඉන්න යාළුවනේ මේ සෙකන්ඩ් ලොන්ච් එක මේක මේ වෙනදට ඕබිටල් ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් කියලා මේ පළවෙනි එක දාලා තිබ්බ මේක නම් මේ ඉන්ටිග්‍රේටඩ් ෆ්ලයිට් ටෙස්ට් කියලා දාලා තින්නේ ඉදන්නේ මේ මං හිතන්නේ අර මේක කක්ෂ තව කොච්චර වෙලා තියෙනවද උඩාරින්න පැය එකමාරක් වගේ තියෙනවා යාළුවනේ මේකට මේ ඉන්ටිග්‍රේටඩ් ෆ්ලයිට් ටෙස්ට් කියලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ මේ මම දැක්ක මේ ට්වීට් කරලා තියෙනවා පැය එකමාරක් තියෙනවා තව මේ ඇයි දන්නවද මේ මොකද්ද ඉන්ටිග්‍රේටඩ් ෆ්ලයිට් ටෙස්ට් කියලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ මොකද මේ පරීක්ෂණයේදී මේ ඒ කියන්නේ මේ රොකට් එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කක්ෂගත වෙන්නේ නැහැ මේක සබ් ඕබිට් එකකට තමයි යන්නේ මේ ඒ කියන්නේ කක්ෂයක් ගාවට ගිහිල්ලා වගේ එන සීන් එකක් තියෙන්නේ මේ මොකද කක්ෂගත වුණොත් මං හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලොන්ට අර මේ ඩීಓබිට් කරන්න ගොඩක් ෆියුල් යනවා. ඒකට මේවන් ඕබිට් ට්‍රැජෙක්ටරි එහෙම හදන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හින්දා මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ සබ් ඕබිටල්ට ඇයි දන්නේ මං හිතන්නේ පළවෙනි එකට ඒගොල්ලෝ ඕබිටල් ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් එකක් කිව්වේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද පළවෙනි එකත් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ ඕබිටල් මේ සීන් එකක් තමයි ගාවට ගිහිල්ලා මේ සබ් ඕබිට් ගන්න. අපි සීන් එක පොඩ්ඩක් බැලුවොත් මිෂන් නේම් එක Starship flight test launch provider SpaceX customer SpaceX rocket එක Starship super heavy launch location එක launch කරන්න orbital launch pad එක Starbase වල තියෙන මේ Texas USA payload mass එක ගැන අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මොනවද ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නේ කියලා. මම හිතන්නේ ගලක් වගේ ඇති මේ where to Starship going hopefully to space recover the first stage ඒවා අපි කතා කරමු. මේක සුපර් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ දෙවනි ෆ්ලයිට් ටෙස්ට් එක. ඒ වගේම ටෙක්සාස් වල ඉඳන් කරන ද්‍රව ඉන්ධන භාවිතා කරලා කරන 50 වෙනි මේ රොකට් මේ දියත් කිරීම. ඒ වගේම අපි කතා කළොත් එහෙම මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් පළවෙනි පරීක්ෂණය ගැන ඒක තිබුණේ අප්‍රේල් 20 වෙනිදා සුපර් හෙවි බූස්ටර් 7 එක සහ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් 24 එක භාවිතා කරලා එක කළේ. එදා ඒක විනාශයට පත් වුණා ලොන්ච් කරලා රැප්ට් එන්ජින් කිහිපයක් බිඳ වැටීම හේතුවෙන්. ඉතින් මේ ඊට පස්සේ මාස 7ක වගේ කාලයකට පස්සේ ඔන්න අද ආයෙත් දෙවනි වතාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ මේක දියත් කරන්න යනවා. අද මිෂන් එකේ ඕවර්විව් එක ගැන බැලුවොත් මේක කිලෝමීටර් දියත් කිරීමට පස්සේ කිලෝමීටර් 100ක් වගේ වායුගෝලයේ ඉහළට ගිහිල්ලා බූස්ට් එක ඒ කියන්නේ බූස්ට් එක කිලෝමීටර් 100ක් කියන්නේ මම කියන්නේ මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක කිලෝමීටර් 100ක් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක මොකද උපකක්ෂයකට ඇතුළු කිරීම තමයි අද බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් බූස්ට් එක ගල්ෆ් ඔෆ් මෙක්සිකෝ කියන මුහුදේ ප්‍රදේශයට සොෆ්ට් ලෑන්ඩින් එකක් සිද්ධ කරන්න ඉන්නවා. ඕගොල්ලෝ සොෆ්ට් ලෑන්ඩින් කියන එක දැකලා අපි හරි සොෆ්ට් ලෑන්ඩින් එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා බලමු. ඊට පස්සේ Starship 25 හවායි වල හවායි දූපත් අතර තියෙන කව්වායි කියන දූප ගාවට කඩා පාත් වෙනවා කියලා තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හරි ඊට පස්සේ මේ වෙනකොට ඔක්කොම එක්සිකියුට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ මේ පැත්තම. ඊට පස්සේ මේ වෙනකොට ඔක්කොම දියත් අයින් කරලා තියෙන්නේ පැත්තෙන්ම. මම දැක්ක අද උදේ මේ ඩයල් එකක් පැය පහකට විතර කලින් අර මේ කැමරාට වල තියෙන පැත්තට ගිහිල්ලා මේ ඌ සෙල්ෆි ගහනවා. මං හිතන්නේ ඌ ඇරෙස් කළාද කොහෙද? මේවත් යන්න බෑ තහනම් මේ ඔක්කොම මේ වන්ද කෙවිඩි ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් එහෙමත් කියලා තියෙනවා මේ ඌ ඇරෙස් කරලා කියලා. මේ ඉතින් මේකේ ගොඩක්ම විශේෂත්වය වෙන්නේ මේ පාර මේකේ හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ග් එකක් භාවිත කරනවා. ඒ වගේම භාවිත කරන්නේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික තක්ෂ වෙක්ටර් කන්ට්‍රෝල් සිස්ටම් එක. හොට් ස්ටේජ් රින්ග් එක ගැන කිව්වොත් එහෙම හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ග් එක කියන්නේ අපි දන්නවා මේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් ෆ්ලයිට් මේ හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ග් එක කියන්නේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකට අලුත් දෙයක් වුණාට මේ ඒරෝස්පේස් මේ රොකට් වර්ල්ඩ් එකට ඒක අලුත් දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. ඒකට හේතුව තමයි ඔය රෂියන් රොකට් වල එහෙම හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ග් එක භාවිත කරලා තියෙනවා N1 රොකට් එකේ එහෙම. හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ග් එකේ වෙන්නේ පළවෙනි අදියර දෙවන අදියරට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙද්දිම අද සිග්නල් අවුලක් තියෙනවද මන්ද අප්පා? සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙද්දිම ෆ්‍රේම් ඩ්‍රොප් ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා කමන්නේ මේ හොට් පළවෙනි අදියර දෙවනි අදියරට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙද්දිම අදියර වෙන් කිරීම තමයි මෙතනදී සිද්ධ කරන්නේ. ඒක මේ ට්වීට් එකේ එවිඩ්‍රියස්නොත් දාලා තිබ්බ පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු. ස්පේසෙක්සෙන් channel එකෙන් මේ ලයිව් එක මං හිතන්නේ මේ පාර YouTube ස්ට්‍රීම් කරන්න නැති කේස් එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ ට්විටර් එකේ දෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. දන්නේ නැහැ ඒක හරියට. මම හිතන්නේ SpaceX එකේ මම හිතන්නේ ලයිව් එක දීලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ මං හිතන්නේ. මම දැක්කේ නැහැ දාලවත් තියෙනවා. ඕකේ. අම්මට සිරි පට්ට වෙන්ටිලේෂන් එකක් යනවා අන්න බර පැත්තේ. ඉතින් යාළුවනේ ඔයාලට කොහොමද? ඔබලගේ සැප සනීප මේ අර හොට් ස්ටේජ් එකේ පෙන්නන්න යන්නේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට ඒක කොහොමද? හරි බලමු.
Actually show what staging
මේක මම තුනේ. අරග නොපෙනී ගියානේ. හරි. මෙන්න මේ වගේ කේස් එකක් තමයි ඔන්න ඔතන සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. මේ දැන් මෙන්න මේ වගේ කොයකෝ හරි. මෙන්න දැන් දෙකම සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ මැද්දේ තියෙන ඔය කූරු තියෙන්නේ අන්න ඒක තමයි හොට් ස්ටේජ් රින්ග් එක කියන්නේ. අර දැන් දෙකම සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙද්දිම දෙවෙනි සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එකේ එන්ජින් ඉග්නයිට් වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දැන් බූස්ට් එකෙත් එන්ජින් මේ පත්තු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒවා ඕෆ් වෙන්නේ නැතුව ඒවා පත් මේ කියන්නේ රොකට් එක උඩට ඇක්සලරේට් වෙන ගමන්ම සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එකෙත් සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එකෙත් එන්ජින් ටික ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. මෙතනදී මේ ගොඩක් මේගොල්ලෝ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ අර ඒගොල්ලෝ අර ටික වෙලාවක් මේ අර නැත්නම් අපි කියන්නේ අර නෑර මේ බූස්ටර් එකකින් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක උඩට ඇක්සලරේට් කරලා දුන්නාට පස්සේ අර ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් කර මේ මම හිතන්නේ ස්ලෝ වෙන්න වගේ වෙනවා ඇති. ඊට පස්සේ අනිවාර්යෙන් ස්ලෝ වෙන්න බෑ බූස්ට් එකේ එන්ජින් ඕෆ් වෙලා ඒක මේ වුණාම. ඉතින් මේ ඒක නැති කරගන්න තමයි අරක සිද්ධ කරන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අර රොකට් එක උඩට ඇක්සලරේට් වෙද්දිම මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ ඒ කියන්නේ දෙවෙනි අදියරේ එන්ජින් ඔන් වෙනවා. ඒ ඕකට තමයි හොට් ස්ටේජින් රින්ගේ භාවිතා කරන්න. එතකොට අර මේ අර මැද්දේ තියෙන හිඩසම කරන්න. ඕ never stop thrusting අන්න ඒක තමයි. අම්මෝ අද යුනි නැද්ද කියලා යාළුවනේ මගේ එක්සෑම් දිවිලා මට ඉවරුනේ ඊයේ. නිදාගත්තෙත් නෑ යාළුවනේ මේ ටිකේ. ඒ හින්දා මට නිින්ද ගියා. මේ මං ඊ ඉලෝන් බොසාට කෝල් එකක් කරන් කිව්වා මේ හෙට් ඊයේ තියන්න එපා මට එක්සෑම් කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි අද දැම්මේ නැත්තම් ඊයේ තියන්න තිබ්බේ. මම ඊට පස්සේ කෝල් එකක් දාලා කිව්වා මේ අද බෑ කියලා.
launch.
You know, we all get to do something pretty darn cool, and that's share space flight with people around the world. And I couldn't ask for a
අද
better
ස්ක්‍රබ්
job.
වේද?
I couldn't
Who
imagine
knows,
a
bro?
better job. And I'm just humbled and honored that I get to
තප්පරයකට
do what I
කලින්
do.
ස්ක්‍රබ් වෙන්න තිබ්බ
And
දීලා.
I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that we live in a timeline where this is a thing that's happening. And I hope
ඒ අස්සේ මේ
that through
සෑම් ආට්මන් මේ ඕපන් එක දාලා කියල්ලන ඊට පස්සේ ඒකට මේ ප්‍රෙසිඩන්ට් කෙනෙකුයි තව ඩයල්ලෙකුයි ඉල්ලාස් වෙලානේ. ඕගොල්ලෝ එක දැන්නවද? මම වැඩි හොයලා බැලුවේ නෑ මේ මම නිකන් Facebook එකේ දැක්කේ. තව පැයයි. තව පැයයි. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඒක දන්නේ නැද්ද මේ දාල් සෑම් ආට්මන් chat GPT එක දාලා ගිහිල්ලා ගියේ ඕපන් AI. එහෙම කේසයක් තියෙනවා. මෙන්න මෙයා trajectory එක පෙන්නනවා.
Basically begin to re-enter sometime after that. Again, assuming all goes well, and re-entry then, you know, it's going to begin to slow it down, and you will hopefully, you know, if we have tracking, if there's tracking assets from SpaceX, we'll see a big plasma streak because it's compressing the air so much that it heats it up into a plasma, slowing it down until it bleeds off enough velocity that it basically ends up just falling and belly flopping right there in the Pacific Ocean north of Hawaii. That's what we can hope to see.
Yes.
Whether or not that's what happens, we
එහෙම
have yet to
එකක්
see in
දන්නේ
1
නැහැ
hour
බං.
and 7 minutes and
මේ
57
මේක
seconds.
පෙන්නනවා.
Yes.
So yeah,
And I think it's important to say that if everything goes well,
Mhm.
that trajectory will take about the coast phase will take about an hour and a half ish.
from
you
launch
mentioned it.
to landing to splash,
To
1.5
splashdown.
hours.
Yeah.
Yep. So coasting, there's 8.5 minutes of acceleration at the beginning.
Yep.
And it re-enters about 15 minutes before. So it's really in
Yeah.
space, in orbit conditions. Really, we'll say, you know, it's for more and less all intents and purposes, it's orbital, but it's on a suborbital trajectory. You know, just shy of orbit.
මේ
Very
ඉරිටේෂන්
close to
රූට් එකකින්
orbit.
4K
So it's
එකක්
experiencing
දෙන්න
all
මේ
of the same characteristics of an orbital flight at that time.
4K දෙන්න live
From
stream
8.5
එක.
minutes until about an hour and 15 minutes into flight. After T0, T plus an hour and 15 or so, it will be in 0G, experiencing all of the flight conditions of an orbital mission, but it's safely not going to stay in orbit, which is pretty vital for a vehicle this size on its first launch. That's people asking, oh, why aren't they going for orbit? All this stuff. This is a huge vehicle. It's massive, and if it was marooned in orbit, that would be very bad. This is a huge vehicle, very heavy, and it would likely survive re-entry intact. Meaning, if they got it into orbit and something happened, they lost comms, they lost control, they had a minor thing that just kind of knocked out all the power systems or something, and it was just dead in orbit. It'd be stuck in orbit for weeks or months or however long it took to deorbit from the trace amounts of atmosphere at that, 250 kilometers, whatever. It might take a month, 2 months, 3 months to deorbit, but it would deorbit uncontrolled.
Yeah.
So for now, the safest thing they can do is just keep it on a suborbital trajectory, so that's not even an option,
Yeah.
which I
So
think is the right
that's-
thing to do.
Yeah.
Yep. So
That's why I
ඔව්
was
සිරාට
more
මටත්
seeing
මේ
today.
Yes.
මේක මේ මගේ
Yes,
Wi-Fi එකත්
exactly.
ස්ලෝද කොහොමද මේකයි මාත් 4K දැම්මේ නැත්තේ.
So this is a good question here from
bro,
from Chris
blank
Big
gilling.
Dad. From what I understand, everything beyond 100 meters is infinite for cameras. Why not focus lock on all of them? Well, they pretty much are all focus locked, manually focused. The difference is lenses. Almost any lens. I've never seen a lens where if you whack
අද
it out to
කැමරා
infinity,
කීයකට කෙලවෙයිද
it's actually
දන්නේ.
in focus.
Mm-hmm.
There's normally some slack in there. There's normally some difference between the actual rear element, then the focusing plane, and the actual sensor itself. So they're just haphazardly going to infinity on a focusing system for it was almost always going to be out of focus.
Yeah.
You're right that they're more or less beyond 100 meters. No matter what you do, is basically the same thing. I mean, your depth of field gets pushed out so far that yes, 100 meters away, 300 feet away or whatever, if you see something like a flag and anything beyond that, with a pretty standard lens, will all be in focus. So yes, but no.
Yes.
So, and especially if you're on something that's telephoto. Telephoto, we have telescopes that, yes, if we are literally shooting it from 5 miles, 8 kilometers away, and that's in focus, we have to change focus in flight.
Yeah.
Because the distances actually do start to matter at that level of telephoto.
That's the very tracky thing. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Tricky.
Trickety-trackety.
Tricky for tracking.
Let's see here. This is a good question from Kyle Pettit asking, what's the temperature out there? It's 65 degrees, which would be...
Freezing cold in South Texas.
No.
Yeah.
65 is what, 18 or 17 degrees
Yeah.
Celsius?
Yeah. I mean, for normal people.
Relative,
it's good stuff.
genuinely pleasant, I would say. Freezing.
මං
for
හිතනවාද
South
බොහෝ
Texas.
දුරට launch එක
We are
success
starting to
වෙයි
see
කියලා මේ.
some light. I told you. Look at the the sky is starting to
yes,
illuminate. I
gorgeous.
love that we're shocked
This
that
is gonna
I'm
be
shocked,
awesome.
like, oh my gosh.
The sun is rising because we're
is-
on a planet and we're floating in space and we're rotating around the sun.
I love it. I love it. So, all right, let's keep answering some of your guys' questions. What time is this? Speaking of, from Rawl asking, great job, team. What time is sunrise? And thank you for your 6 months of membership. Sunrise
work.
is at 6:49 local,
Yeah.
so only 11 minutes before liftoff. So we're gonna see, boom,
Wild.
this beautiful glimmer of sun, hopefully just beaming upon the rocket,
Boom.
and it'll be standing there just getting basked in wonderful sunlight.
Golden rays.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
Photons.
Absolutely. Someone asking, should I watch this or the NASA live stream? To be clear, there is no NASA live stream.
Nope.
There is NASA Spaceflight, which is our friends.
True.
But NASA, this particular launch is not actually a NASA
කවුද
mission
යකෝ
yet.
ඒක ඇහුවේ?
There will be Starship missions that are NASA missions. NASA supporting
කවුද
this,
එකක්
and
කනවා
NASA
මේ?
is invested in this.
NASA
this
එකෙන්
is
live
not a
stream
NASA
එකක් දෙනවද කිය.
So there is no NASA feed, no NASA live stream. There is, again, NSF, NASA Spaceflight, our good friends.
NASA space
Mhm.
flight එකේ
Incredible.
stream
I
එක
mean,
දෙන්න.
come on.
Yeah.
Between them and Lab Padre, with
Lab
like,
Padre's got a stream going.
I mean, there's views galore. And
Yeah.
I hope that you guys are doing the right
ඊයකෝ
thing,
මේ copy
which
එන්නේ
is having your own mission control.
huge mission control. How many monitors
How
do
many
you have?
iPads, phones, tablets, laptops, computers, get them all out. Like I love that. I love seeing people's, on Twitter stuff and in Discord, people show, all that kind of stuff. And that's super fun to just see how people are sharing a history together and the community coming together, because there's going to be a lot of views and you're going to not want to miss this. So I would highly recommend have multiple up, because I mean, knock on wood, our system's darn solid right now, and I'm quite confident in it this time.
Yeah.
But there could always be something that goes wrong. Shh. Hey,
What?
we have to be realistic about that.
Why do
I'll-
we have to be realistic though?
Be-
I'm kidding. I kid.
yes.
I'm
yes.
with you. I'm with
That's why I'm always a big fan of like having a lot of streams up. When I watch rocket launches at home, I will pull up, I'll have my laptop on my lap and I'll have the TV and I'll have 2 different streams going, or sometimes 3. I might set my iPad down and I have my own mission control at home too. So I do that same thing. I love that. I think that's super fun. So just wanted to put that out there. A little,
Lag ගෙනවා කියලා දෙනවා
yeah, a little
දැන්.
shout out. So do we know
අප්පා
from
වුණේ lag.
Imagine being Levi, sorry.
Wow.
What's about the thermal cam? I don't know if that's like
What's the thermal cam about?
What's the thermal cam about? Well, it's a thermal camera. And it's helping us see the progress of prop load. And right now we're seeing like the perfect example of that.
Infrared camera.
Yes.
Very cool.
So literally very cool.
Oh, that's so awesome.
We can literally see, I mean, you can see the frost line now that it's daylight enough, you know,
Sure.
too. But I mean, that is as distinct as you get. You literally can see exactly where the frost line is and
මම
where.
හිතන්නේ මේ ඉන්ටර්නෙට් කනෙක්ෂන් එක අවුලක්
that's-
තියෙනවා අප්පා මේ අප්පා.
That is awesome. That's why we have that there for you guys, so you
Wow.
can literally see on the rocket the exact progress of.
මේක
prop
තමයි
load.
ලැග් එකක්
So
තියෙනවා නේ මචං.
that is ongoing. That is ongoing. So let's see here.
බලමු.
Let's see here from a great question from Ayu Shimalov. 86% of SpaceX is male. What do we do to change this?
Say it again.
86% of SpaceX is male. What do we do to change
You
this?
know, and that's so funny to me because I have so many girlfriends that work at SpaceX
Yeah.
or have worked at SpaceX. And I feel like it's run by one of the most amazing women
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
mean, Gwen is such a dream. Yeah, it's interesting because of all of the companies that I've seen in spaceflight, I definitely see more women engineers, software engineers. And it's cool, you know, a lot of the women that end up hosting their live streams are also some of the lead engineers in the program. But of course, you know, to change that, what do? We get people excited. I think
Yeah.
that what you and I are doing right now is essential
Yeah.
to getting the general public excited. First of all, knowledgeable about what's happening.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
you know, for the longest time, I didn't work in the space industry or know anything about what was going on in space
Exactly.
until like 2016 when I just kind of stumbled upon it.
Exactly.
And so awareness is number one, communicating all of the exciting things happening. Number
Yep.
one.
Yep.
And then it's just so inspiring that
ඔව්
like
බ්‍රෝ මේ
everybody
මගේ
wants to
මං
be
හිතන්නේ මේ
involved,
මගේ
myself included.
ඉන්ටර්නෙට්
And as like a
කනෙක්ෂන් එකේ අවුලක්
musician,
තියෙනවා. මේ මට
artist
බලාගෙන ඉද්දි
person,
අඩු
I
වෙලා
was
වැඩි
like,
වෙනවා.
what do I do?
Right.
What-
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
here we are.
And here we are. And I think for me, and obviously I'm not going to speak to what helps for people that aren't my gender, but I think one of the biggest things
සිරාට
is
මේ
if
තර්මල්
you are
කැමරා
a
එක
parent
මේ
and you have a child,
ඒකේ පෙන්නනවානේ අර මේ
just bring them along
Yeah,
Starship
bring
එකට
them
කොච්චර
along.
ෆියුල්
Right.
මේ
and help them get
පිරලා
excited
තියෙනවද
about this.
කියලාත් පෙන්නනවා
That
නිල්
push part
පාටි. ඒක
can
වර
be everything, you know.
Plus, the things
ඔක
that
උඩ
they're
යද්දි
going
තමයි
to
ඔක්කොම
see in
රතු
their
වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
lifetime, like the
Yeah.
things we'll see in our lifetime are unfathomable.
Yeah.
But imagine what they're going to see
Exactly.
and what they
100%.
could be a part of
Be a part of.
and design.
And literally build and
Yes.
do. And yeah, I mean, the future is in the hands of the children right now. So
Yeah.
huge shout out to all there's always families watching, which is so cool.
Yeah.
We try really hard. We make sure everything's family friendly here, obviously.
We do our best.
We do our best.
We do
You
pretty
might you might see tears occasionally and things like that. And maybe things like
Who are you
I'm
talking
going to
about?
be on that thing and people thought
ඉතින් මේ කියන්න ඕන හරි මේ මොනවද අලුත් විස්තර මන්න වීඩියෝ සදන්නත් වෙලාක් නෑ යාළුවනේ මේ ටික මේ එක්සෑම් තියෙනවා පාවෙලාදී පුදුම එක්සෑම් ගොඩක් තියෙන යකෝ මෙච්චර උදෙන් නැගිට්ටම වෙන කාලෙකි ඊට පායනවා ෂේප් එකේ මේ හයිලැග්ගයක් එනවද නෑනේ මේ වන්නව විනාඩි 57යි විනාඩි 57යි යාළුවනේ අම්මට තර්මල් කැම් එක ගැම්මක් සිරාට
reality if there's any I don't know, we'll see. Maybe the beach will be open today or throughout the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, good
it was
question.
obviously closed for a while when the IFT1 happened.
It all depends on what happens.
Yeah,
Right.
but as far as teams, mission control and stuff, I mean, these are hardcore people.
Yeah.
They're used to being on console half the time at like whenever an orbital mission requires an orbital mission, like which can be 4:32 a.m. 4:42. There you go.
I love that.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So
ටෙන්ජින්
by the
වර්ෂන්
way, we
3
are coming over at
3ද
T-minus
නෑ
10.
මං හිතන්නේ මේ මං ඔක හොයලා බැලුවා
Oh my gosh! Like,
මේ
holy
ඔයා
crap.
මේ වල්කන් සර්ජෝ
Yeah,
ඔයා
I'm
දන්නවද
actually
මේ
oh man.
රැප්ටර් වර්ෂන් 3 එකද 2 එකද මේ යූස් කරන්න කියලා මං හිතන්නේ රැප්ටර් එන්ජින් 2 එක තමයි මේ යූස් කරන මම දැන් 3 එක තාම මම හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ 3 එක මැනුෆැක්චර් කරද්දී බූස්ටර් මේ බූස්ටර් මොකද 9 එකේ රැප්ට් එන්ජින් ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරලා තිබ්බේ මං හිතන්නේ මේකේ රැප්ට් එන්ජින් version 3 එක නෙමෙයි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ මේකේ 2 එක දුවද පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ
We're talking about rockets. We're talking about the future
The
generation of
future.
people that are going to be building these things,
රැප්ටර්
flying
2
on these
තියෙන එක තමයි
things,
මම බැලුවේ
engineering these things. Yeah,
3 under
I'm woke
oh
for
3
rockets. Like that,
3
I
under
just
development
don't get it. I don't get it. I'm
under
sorry.
development කියන්නේ මගේ ඒක
Let's see here. This
ටෙස්ටිං
is
වැඩ
from,
ඔක්කොම ඉවරයි මේ මං හිතන්නේ මේ මැනුෆැක්චර් කරනවාද රැප්ට් එන්ජින් 3 එක හැබැයි ඒක මේ තාම යූස් කරන්නේ මම හිතන්නේ ඊළඟට යූස් කරා
talking point at some point.
මේ Starship මේ SpaceX එකෙන් මේ කියලා තියෙනවලු මේ දැන් මේ අවුරුද්දේ 2යි Starship ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ 4යි එහෙම ඩබල් කර යන්න තමයි හිතන් ඉන්නේ අවුරුද්දෙන් අවුරුද්ද මේ Starship මේ ෆ්ලයිට් ටෙස්ට් ගාන මේ ඒ වගේ සතයි
Closer, maybe even so a foot. You know, that's what we're talking about for
Wow.
accuracy.
Wow.
So the good thing is, unlike Falcon 9, there's actually quite a bit more control when we have multiple engines. So having 3 engines in the center for landing allows there to be roll axis with the engines. They can gimbal in the same direction, so it will be able to spin. So that can help alignment. It also has, because it has 3 engines, they can throttle, deep throttling, and they can actually hover if they need to. They can do translational movements a lot easier. They'll be able to control the booster with a lot more accuracy than the Falcon 9 even. Now, the grid fins are great when you're flying through the atmosphere. When the engines aren't running, they have a lot of control then. That's their
මේ
real bread
දවස්වල
and butter.
ඇත්තටම මේ
Once you're going slow and you're down
Starship
in the
එකේ
last
scene
seconds
එක
of
විතරයි
landing,
follow
grid
කරෙත්
fins
මේ
are
අනිත් රොකට්ස්
less
ගැන එහෙම
control
බැලුවෙත් නෑ වැඩි
compared to everything else.
වෙලාවක්
So,
තිබ්බේ
Oh, I never gave you my report from outside.
oh yeah,
Did
what
you
was
like
the
it?
report from outside?
I could see all of the stars. So it's clear. And I unbagged a lot of the stuff except for the power strip because it's still quite wet out there,
Oh,
actually.
interesting. Okay. Huh.
It's a
Well,
little dewy.
things are coming online and our cameras are filling
Yes.
mission control here pretty quickly. So
Yeah, how's mission control looking?
ලූනා
I'm
ස්ටේෂන්
refreshing the
ස්ටාර්ෂිප්
page right
මිෂන්
now.
එකට
Wow,
කලින්ද
Get a sense.
This is a
නැත්නම්
gorgeous
ඔයා
shot
කියන්නේ
there.
ලූනා ස්ටේප්
I know.
මිෂන්
Loving
එකේ
Very
ලොන්චස්
fortunate.
18ක්
I am so excited for this. Holy crap.
Ooh.
නෑ මම
Oh,
හිතන්නේ
man.
ලොන්චස්
So,
18ක්
yeah,
නම්
we are.
කරන්නේ
By the way,
නැති
there's
එච්චර කරන්නේ
72,000 people watching
Oh,
right now.
cool. Awesome.
Thank you for tuning
Welcome.
in. Good mornings to many of you.
73,000
Morning.
I mean, it is 6 a.m. here local, so some people East Coast are probably waking up.
Yep.
And there's probably some hardcore West Coasters waking
අද
up
නම්
here in the
ආතල්ල
United States. It's going to be an early morning, but it will be worth it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
That's
what I'm talking about.
That's our planetary
වැඩගොල්ලු
society
කියලා
right
ආපු
there.
මර්සි
Right there. That is the camera they provided.
Nice,
and
nice, bro.
Our,
ගැම්මක්
we've got a
තමයි
little logo right there in the bottom right even.
Oh, nice
Planetary
work.
Society.
Oh, man,
respect
I'm so proud
And-
of the team.
Thank you.
මොකද්ද කරන
Very,
ඩිග්‍රී එක
very
මල්ලි කියලා තියෙනවා මේ
Thanks for
දන්නම් මම
watching.
මේ මේජ් එක ඒරෝස්පේස් ඇන්ඩ් මෙකැනිකල් ඉන්ජිනියරින් කරන්නයි මේකෙන් මම මේ දවස්වල අපි මේ මම අර අපි ක්ලබ් එක වැඩ කරනවා මේ එයා ඩෙවිල්ස් කියලා මේයා ක්‍රාෆ්ට් ක්ලබ් එක ඒකේ තරගයක් තියෙනවා ලබන අවුරුද්දේ ඒකට අපි හදනවා මේ පැසෙන්ජර්ස්ලා මේ ලී වලින් හදපු පැසෙන්ජර්ස්ලා 100ක් දාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් මේ එයා ක්‍රාෆ්ට් එක පට්ට ආතල් එක හදනවා ඉතින් ඒක මරු ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොම මැත්ස් තමයි තියෙන්නේ ෆිසික්ස් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර ලංකාවේ මේ UI ඩ්‍රොප් වෙනවද මන්ද SpaceX එකේ ලයිව් එක දෙන්නේ නැහැ මං හිතන්නේ මේ පාර. මම දැක්ක මේගොල්ලෝ මේ ට්විටර් එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා මේ. මේ ට්විටර් එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා නෙමෙයි මේ මම දැක්ක මේ everyday astronaut කියනවා මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ YouTube එකේ මේ පාර දෙන්නේ නැති කේසයක් තියෙන බල. දෙයිද දන්නෙත් නෑ. අම්මට උඩු SpaceX කියලා කිව්වහම ඔරිජිනල් channel එකේ ඉන්නේ ඔක්කොම live වෙන්නේ. හරි පේන එක නතු ගියාද? හරි.
Shirt, which is what I'm wearing, which has Raptor engines on the back.
විනාඩි 49
And lots of cool nerdy Methalox facts and figures and things of that nature,
There you
as well as the new
ඒද
hyperbolic shirts.
X එකේ තමයි බාන්නේ.
Shop around,
X එකේ
enjoy, get something
එකේ
for
නන්දේ.
your family. everydayastronaut.com/shop.
මේ ඉලෝන් මස් හදන
Really,
ජෙප් එකේ
like, if you can't
ස්ට්‍රීමින්
tell,
ඔක්කොම මේ
we are
X එකට
pouring
ගෙන්න ගන්න.
every penny back into this system. So
That's
if
right.
you like what you're seeing and you're a fan of the show, there's nothing better than getting yourself something awesome like the Methalox hoodie or the Methalox shirt or the Hypergolic shirt or anything. everydayastronaut.com.
This assembly there at the end of the flight. But we will hopefully get some fantastic views from that vehicle as it flies over. Again, NASA kind enough to fly that in to get some of those fantastic views for us here as we now pass the T-minus 50-minute mark, looking at T-minus 48 hours and 52 minutes till the opening of that Starship window. Here's a question from 20 past
T-minus
4.
40 වලින් තමයිලු
Talking
මේ
about max Q here, that is when there's the maximum aerodynamic pressure
වින්ඩෝ එක
pushing
ඕපන්
down
වෙන්නේ.
on the vehicle. Is Starship and Super Heavy more or less susceptible to wind? Because I know one of the concerns, especially at max Q, is those directional upper level winds. Do you think it's more susceptible?
X
well,
වීඩියෝ X එකේ
It's-
වීඩියෝ
it's
ක්වලිටි
always
කොහොමද?
a question
මේ
because you
ලෙක්ස්
kind of have a
ෆ්‍රීඩ්මන්
lot of-
පොඩ්කාස්ට් එක මේ
Starship is big, right? So
දැන්
there's a lot
දානවා
of
ට්වීට්
area
එක.
that
Yeah,
the wind
full
could potentially impact.
conversation එක.
But also Starship also has the
ඌ ඉතින් කොහොමත් මේ ඉලෝන්
approach
මස්ක්
to use its
බොක්කන්නේ
thrust to stabilize it
ඉතින්
against
කොහොමද
any
දාන
wind coming. So it's
නෑ
kind of
මම
a
හිතන්නේ මේ
debate.
X එකේ වීඩියෝ ක්වලිටි
Elon
කොහොමද?
Musk in the past has said that they want to make Starship a bit or what the exact envelope is that Starship is right now allowed to fly. It's probably for this flight very low compared to what they might want to do in the future, because you wouldn't risk pushing your envelope on your second test flight.
That is very true. And we did get the weather report yesterday from Adam, who's out in the field for us, that there was a slight concern for upper level winds, but not as much as if it delays a couple of days. And we did get the tweet earlier from SpaceX that so far systems and weather are go for today's test flight. So hopefully that will continue to hold as we go through the count here now. At this point, everything is looking good. You could see those frost rings continuing to grow. This is a look at it from the booster. A reminder, this was supposed to fly yesterday. And for those who are unaware, why did we have to delay a day, Adrian?
Because one of the
මේ ඊයේ මේක මේ කල් ගියේ මේ දවසකින් කල් දැන් මේ දන්න මේ ඊයේ ග්‍රිඩ් මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක කියන්නේ මේ සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එකේ ග්‍රිඩ් ෆින් ඇක්චුවේටර්ස් 3ක් රිප්ලේස් කරලා තියෙනවා. අර මේ හත් දෙක වගේ අර මෙහෙම අර දෙපැත්තේ තියෙන හෙලෙන් අන්න ඒකේ තු මේ ඇක්චුවේටර්ස් 3ක් රිප්ලේස් කරලා තියෙනවා. මම දැක්ක මේ ඊයේ එතන රිප්ලේස් කරනවා. දැන් ඔක්කොම හොඳට නම් පේනවා. ෆ්‍රස්ට්‍රේටින් ෆ්‍රස්ට් එක තියෙනවා. ෆියුල් එනවා.
It has now been stacked currently for the 8th time. And that hot staging ring is relatively new. This is the first flight that it is being used, so that is part of why they've kind of had to remove the ship and the hot staging ring to get to any of the work inside that booster there, of which there are quite a few systems inside that top portion of the booster, in addition to all of the flight computers and controls that are expected to be in the under portion, kind of near where the engines are for this vehicle. Well, you can see a really cool vent there. Again, as we mentioned, those vents are completely normal and expected as they even out the pressures inside the vehicle. I do want to thank a few more people here.
By the way,
Buzz G, thank you for the $50 super chat. You can hear those vents there.
Yep.
ventilation.
Bigger
අම්බෝ
Full, thank you for the $20
මේ
super chat
තව විනාඩි
there.
10කින්
We also
5කින්
had,
කියන මේ මම හිතන්නේ
GLD
go no go
becoming a
poll
launch
එක මේ
director
launch
member.
කරනවද
Thank
නැද්ද
you to
කියලා.
everyone for all of the support during this stream. It is greatly appreciated. Now, at this point,
ඕක සාර්ථකයිද කියලා.
we
Who
mentioned
knows,
that
bro?
the clamps are released, so at this point, the vehicle is
ඒ
kind
කියන්නේ
of holding
කොහොමද
its
ඒව
own
කියන්නේ?
weight on the
මං හිතනවාද
orbital
සාර්ථක
launch
වෙයි
pad
කියලා
as we
මේ.
get closer to this point, right?
මම ඉතින් කොහොමත් හිතනවානේ සාර්ථක වෙයි කියලා.
Absolutely. At
ඒ
this
මැරෙන්න
point,
මේ
it's
කියන්නේ.
own
එහෙම
weight
ගොඩාක්
pushing down on the
මොනවා
orbital
වෙයිද
launch
කියලා ඉතින්
mount
කියන්න බෑ.
that fixes it. Of course, there's also
මේ
the ship QD that is still
මං
attached
හිතනවා
to
ඉතින්
the
ඒගොල්ලෝ
booster
ගාව
QD.
දැන් මේ
They'd probably give it at least
data
some.
ගොඩක් තියෙන හින්දා මේ සාර්ථක වෙයි කියලා. කලින් එක කෙලව ගත්තට පස්සේ data ගොඩක් එකතු කරගන්න දෙන්නේ.
At this point, it's already well into fueling. It's probably at around at already 1,000, 2,000 tons. So it's quite a heavy vehicle that is standing there.
Exactly. And as we pass the T-minus 45-minute mark till the opening of the window, I'm going to pass off the launch commentary to Lon, Alex, and yourself, Adrian. So I've been Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been happy to host up until this point, and now we will hand you over to your launch commentary team.
Thank you, Sawyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Sawyer. It's great to be here. I think when they're rolling us out, the folks behind the scenes here are pretty confident we're going to see something exciting in the next, about 43 minutes or so. And I guess, Adrian, we're looking at right now the window opening in about 44 minutes, but we don't know the exact T0 time just yet, do we?
Yeah, we don't know. I would say, and I'm not sure. Alex is, I think, also on that, so I will bring him in here after my initial answer here. My feeling is that they might be slightly behind the opening of the window, if maybe, based on the indicator we have seen, but it seems like they're
ඒ කියන්නේ මේ මෙතන මේ T-43 minutes කියන්නේ මේ launch එකට තියෙන වෙලාව නෙමෙයි.
so around the net time. Alex, what do you think?
Excellent.
Yeah, hi. I'm back.
Hey, Alex.
ඔව් live ඔව් සිරාට 9 දෙනෙක් බලලානේ. Thank you, thank you. ගොඩක් සතුටු. මේ මොකද්ද මේ මේ launch window එක open වෙන්න තමයි විනාඩි 42ක් තියෙන ඊට පස්සේ මේ යකෝ මේක lag වෙනවනේ. මේ ඔව් මේ launch window එක open වෙන්න තමයි මේ විනාඩි තව 42ක් තියෙන්නේ මේ launch එකට නෙමෙයි ඊට පස්සේ මම හිතන්නේ විනාඩි 42කින් මේ launch window එක open වුණාට පස්සේ මේ විනාඩි 20කදකුත් කාලයක් ලබා දෙනවා මේ ඒ විනාඩි 20 ඇතුළත මේ launch කරන්න ඕන.
But if they need that extra time, it doesn't mean the end of the world. Doesn't mean that we're gonna on a scrub or anything like it. Actually, the opposite. We've had already the first flight on the second attempt. It had a little bit of a hole, just 5 minutes, and it went off. So, if they need a few extra minutes to complete, actually, I'm right now remembering the cause of that little hole that they had on that second attempt of the first flight was precisely to wrap up the propellant load on the vehicles. And so, look, if they need an extra 5 minutes, it's okay, it's cool. No pun intended, because we have 20 minutes. So, even though 20 minutes might seem short compared to 2 hours, if it's just like, oh, we need a couple more minutes to finish propellant load, that's okay. There's still plenty of time, right? So, no panic. We're good to go.
And it looks like the sun is coming up here at Starbase in Boca Chica. So a lot of people are wondering, is this a night launch? No, they are going to try to launch just after sunrise here. And as you can see, sunrise is happening as right on schedule, believe it or not. So we should have some beautiful views here of the sun rising as Starship continues to get fueled. And Alex, as I watch this, one of the things that we've talked about in our Countdown to Launch show is trying to convey the scale of this rocket. And I think all of this fueling activity we've seen is another example of just how much larger this particular space vehicle is versus, for example, Falcon 9, because we're always focused on that big vent for Falcon 9. The big vent on Starship here is huge, right?
Yeah, so just for perspective, the Stromback on Falcon 9, it is merely less than 70 meters tall. That booster with that hot stage ring is already 70 meters tall. So the size of that of that vent is like probably twice or three times as large as the Stromback vent on Falcon 9 on that T-minus 20-minute vent. So it is an incredible sight to see, and especially now we look at this view with the full stack getting frosty, the sun rising. This is gonna be such an and look at the there's no clouds. I don't see. There's maybe a few there in the horizon, but that's nothing.
Don't say that they hear you. They don't say that they hear you. They smell fear.
Yeah, maybe I could jinx it, but definitely it's looking like a great day today to launch the world's most powerful rocket in history. It's not just right now or no, in history. No rocket has been as powerful as a Starship.
And the only clouds that we see are the ones created by the space fuel. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and we're just counting down here to the opening of the window. Now, Alex here wrote kind of our book on all of the milestones that are happening here. And it's amazing how much work he put in. And I have to say, you know, everyone who's been working on covering this particular moment in time, they have been spending years really getting ready for what you're about to watch here. And it's amazing how much effort everyone here on the NSF team has put in, and we greatly appreciate your support, and we'll get some more supporters in a minute.
SpaceX live එකක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ මචං මං හිතන්නේ
we just passed a
මේ
milestone that
නැත්තම්
people may
schedule
not be
කරලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ
familiar
මේ
with, which is the OLM hold down clamps, because this Starship launches a lot differently than other rockets may have in the past. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, and so you referred to this very appropriately, that it is sort of like SLS, where you have the own weight of the vehicle.
Leaping off the pad like we see with Falcon 9. We're looking at probably, if I looked at our time frame here, 3 seconds ahead of T0 of just getting all these engines lit up. There are 33 that they have to light up in a sequence. And then we're pretty much going to be on the ground for 2 seconds afterward until we see any kind of movement.
Yeah, during the first launch, this segment was even longer, so it almost felt painfully long, and you almost get into this situation where you're like, oh no, it didn't abort. What's happening, right? You get in this situation, but don't worry about this. It's normal. You'll have the second of doubt while they throttle up if it happens, and you'll be like, oh no, it's moving. The thing you will probably see moving first is the very tip of the rocket, because there will be a lot of gas going up from the deluge system, because in the moment of the Raptor ignition, we expect quite a cloud. But you will see the tip moving. And once that moves, again, they don't have like as soon as that moves, that it's all going. They don't have a stop anymore. They can't land that anymore. From there on out,
Right.
it's either going up or going home.
Well, we hope it goes up, and we are right now just under 36 minutes until the opening of the launch window. I know I've been seeing a lot of questions coming through on chat. What time is it going to launch? Well, it'll launch anywhere between 7 a.m. Central Time and 7:20 a.m. Central Time.
launch window එකට
That
තමයි
is
මේ
the window, so it's a much smaller window.
මේ launch window එකට තමයි මේ විනාඩි 35 තියෙන. ඊට පස්සේ එතන ඉඳලා විනාඩි 20ක් කාලයක් මේ ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා මේ දියත් කරන්න. ඒ විනාඩි 20 ඇතුළත දියත් කරන්න බැරි වුණොත් හෙටට කල් දානවා. හරි ඊළඟ මම හිතන්නේ හෙටින් ඉවරයි. මම හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලොන්ට දීලා තියෙන දවස් මම හිතන්නේ ආයේ ඒගොල්ලොන්ට අවසර ගන්න වෙයි.
Yeah, precisely. That is pretty much what we're expecting to happen here.
All right. Well, we're going to keep an eye on all the doings over at Starbase here, and Adrian, right now we're just trying to get this rocket fueled.
ලක්ෂයක් බලන් ඉන්නවා NSF එකේ මේක live එක.
Which was a year ago yesterday, I believe, where fueling took forever because these rockets are so large.
අම්මට
So
මේකත්
fueling is a very
ලක්ෂයක්
long
බලන් ඉන්නවා.
process with this particular spacecraft versus what we saw with Falcon and other smaller rockets before.
Yeah, I mean,
අඩේ
well,
මේක
the
කියන්නේ
easiest answer why this also takes so long
කොහෙද
is
යන්නේ?
because it's a big rocket, right?
Right.
It just comes down to the fact that you need to move a lot of propellant, and that at some point is just not easy to do. There's a lot of things that go into this. Basically, one misbehaving valve can ruin your launch day. One
Yes.
single thing that just doesn't work, that just doesn't open, that maybe has a bit of a leak, that can ruin your launch day. So making sure that you go through this process in a organized way, step by step, and well, that takes some time.
අද කෙලින්ම ටෙක්සාස් මේ බොකාචිකා ස්ටාබේස් පැත්ත ගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. මම දැක්ක වීඩියෝස් එහෙම මේ දාලා තියෙනවා ස්ටෝරීස් එහෙම කට්ටිය.
But again, it's the biggest rocket of all time.
අම්බෝ
So,
සෙනග කියන්නේ
there comes
කෙලින්ම
some
හොටෙල් මාසෙකට මේක ලොන්ච් මේ දැනුම් දුන්න දවසේම රෑ ඔක්කොම හොටෙල්ස් බුක් කරලා ඉවරයි.
In some areas, including making the rocket go up. So hopefully we will see all
අද මේ බීච් සයිඩ් එකේ මේ මොකක් හරි ලොකු කේස් එකකුත් වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ ලොකු ට්‍රැෆික් ජෑම් එකක් සෙට් වෙලා එහෙම මේ පැත්තේ මිනිස්සුන්ට මොකක් හරි එළියට යන්න බැරුව.
By the way, I think our chat is pretty excited. You know, I've seen some excitement in the chat, but maybe we can see a little bit more. Let me get that chat rolling here. Let's go. All right. But Joe Keane is having a birthday today, 70th birthday. So happy birthday to you. God bless all who are responsible for making this happen, and God bless the USA. Yep, this is a very important milestone not only for SpaceX, but it's also just as important for NASA because Artemis 3 depends on Starship being operational and operational frequently.
මේකට මේ FA එකත් ගොඩාක් සපෝට් කරන්න මේ ආර්ටමිස් 3 මිෂන් එක කරන්න යන්නේ මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකකින් හින්දා. ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඉක්මනට මේක හදාගන්න ඕනේ.
W4WWW and $100 for 100,000 concurrent viewers. Congrats to NSF. Yeah, huge turnout this morning and 100,000 folks tuning in, all fellow space enthusiasts to watch this awesome launch this morning. Matthew's predicting a perfect morning, and I would agree with him on that for sure. So here we are. We're looking at the Starship stack here on the pad. All that venting is normal. And Alex, I guess you could kind of determine how full the fuel tanks are based on how high the frost level is.
Yeah, so the great advantage of a Starship is that since it doesn't have any insulation outside, like SLS or anything like it, we can kind of see the progress of the propellant load on the vehicle, because that frost is a great indicator of how
යකෝ මෙච්චර
fully
නමුණා
loaded it
විනාඩි
is.
30යි තාම.
And Adrian, we have some
සූ
updates.
ගන්න හොඳ නෑනේ.
Yes, apparently
So
according to
Gavin,
SpaceX,
යාළුවනේ.
they are targeting indeed the start of the window. So that will be right now, if no hold happens, that would be top of the hour right now, where Starship would try its second launch. So there you go. That's right now the target.
And we shouldn't be concerned if there is a hold because they do have some hold time that they can build in for double checking things, right?
No, that's I would actually expect a hold at T-40. I would more
දැන්
set
භාගයක්
myself
විතර
up for
ෆියුල්
a
ඇවිල්ලා
situation where
තියෙන්නේ.
I would like them to check out things. They would probably, they're also nervous,
Ane
right? They're
tawa again.
also, this is a big deal for this company as well. So I would
Ane
imagine
baageeta
that
වැඩි.
maybe if they can, they might
බාගයට
use
පොඩ්ඩක් වැඩි.
this 15-minute window a bit to check a few more things, working through a few more things, and making sure they're really ready
සිරාවට?
before they send it.
SpaceX එක liveද? අම්මට උටු SpaceX මට පෙන්වන්නේ නෑ නේ. වෙන්න බඩු වෙන්නන. අයියෝ ආච්චිට හාල් කරන්න.
Get past a successful stage separation, Super Heavy will leave the ship at an altitude and trajectory just shy of orbital, meaning Starship won't have to fire its Raptor engines for a deorbit burn and will naturally come back into the atmosphere. Now, meanwhile, Super Heavy will attempt a landing burn before splashing into the Gulf. While the booster will practice a landing, we do not plan to recover any hardware from Super Heavy or the ship on this particular flight. Now, with the exception of Falcon, this really is no different than what happens to most other rockets flying today that are expended or fall into the ocean after completing their mission.
Now, even though we aren't planning recovery, the telemetry and data that we receive all the way to the end of today's mission is really what we're looking for, particularly with respect to temperatures during reentry and how the heat shield performs. Much like our first test, we want to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle in this flight-like environment.
Exactly. So let's talk about some objectives for today. The primary goal for Flight 1 was to clear the pad. We did that, and we got amazing data that helped us to improve the vehicle and pad that you see right there today. This time, on Flight 2, we're hoping to get all the way through stage separation, where we will try to perform this hot staging maneuver. In the bigger picture, ascent is the most critical objective today, and everything else is learning. Like I said last time, a few times, the further we fly, the more data we can collect.
Now, we do expect that the camera views will be spotty after stage separation, and that's because we rely on ground stations that are positioned along the globe along the trajectory. But we are experimenting with Starlink on both the booster and ship on this mission, which will be communicating with our satellites in orbit to see if we can get that data.
Yeah, so if we make it past stage separation, there is a chance that we could get better live views throughout the duration of the flight test, including re-entry, where we typically have a blackout period with no communication with the vehicle whatsoever. So all that said, this is the first time that the vehicle will attempt to communicate with Starlink in orbit, so no guarantees.
Now, we're at T-minus 27 minutes, so let's check in with John for an update on the countdown. How are we looking, John?
Thanks, Shiva. We're currently loading the ground system into both the first and second stages. We're on schedule for launch in just over 26 minutes from now. Now, we delayed a day getting here. Yesterday, on Friday, we had to replace a discrepant grid fin actuator on the first stage. We also replaced 2 other actuators as a precaution. The stages were remated, checked out, and everything was go for where we are right now this morning. Now, as I mentioned, we are in propellant loading. Both vehicles, the first and second stages, use the same 2 propellants. Our fuel is liquid methane at a temperature of just over 100 Kelvin, or about 272 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. This is a different fuel from Falcon 9, where we use the RP-1 kerosene. But our oxidizer is liquid oxygen, the same as Falcon 9. Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. We did the weather poll and the go-no-go poll at T-minus 2 hours. We got the goes, and we started loading both propellants on the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 36 minutes. And at T-minus 1 hour and 17 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship, second stage. Propellant loading of the Starship second stage main tanks will complete at approximately T-minus 22 minutes, just a few minutes from now. And at about the same time, we will switch over to loading the header tanks in the nose of the ship. Meanwhile, it'll be T-minus 3 minutes when super heavy prop load completes on the first stage. And at that point, all propellant will be on the rocket, fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. As we near T0, it's worth noting that the timing of the countdown will be slightly different today. For Flight 1, we lit the engines and lifted off about 6 seconds later. For Flight 2, we aim to reduce that time by almost 2 seconds, shortening the period between engine start and liftoff. This will help reduce stress on the ground and the propulsion system and improve the efficiency of the rocket. Now, right now, we're just inside T-minus 25 minutes to liftoff. The weather and winds are looking good. We haven't had any concerns there. The only issue we're working is getting the small boats out of the near range area in the offshore. We do have the possibility of holding at T-minus 40 seconds as we're trying to get the last of the boats out of the safety area. Now, if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, we have a backup launch windows. This could be either 24 or 48 hours after today. It depends on how far we get into the countdown. But for now, everything's looking good as we've passed, coming up on the 24-minute mark.
Thanks, John. Now, that countdown is continuing to progress, so let's take a look at the and get more familiar with the vehicle there on your screen. Starship is the world's most powerful launch vehicle. It's currently currently with about twice the thrust of the Saturn V rocket, and with future engine upgrades, it will be 3 times more powerful. Those future improvements will allow Starship to carry 150 to 250 metric tons to orbit.
Now, for reference, Falcon 9's heaviest payload to date is about 17 metric tons. So we're talking about an order of magnitude more with Starship in terms of payload capability. And that matters because the amount of mass that we're able to launch per rocket is crucial to ultimately creating a self-sustaining city on Mars. Now, let's talk a little bit about how tall the vehicle is. The Super Heavy booster alone stands about 70 meters tall, and that's about the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9. The height of Starship on top of it is comparable to that of the Statue of Liberty. But of course, the most technical length unit is that of Godzilla's. And we can confidently say that the fully stacked Starship and is at least Godzilla. It just so happens that we refer to the launch attach tower at Starbase as the Mechazilla from the Godzilla movie. And you could see from that that the resemblance is quite uncanny.
Very, very uncanny. Now, the first stage, also known as the booster or Super Heavy, has a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and with 33 much larger engines. More engines means more power to deliver a massive amount of cargo to space.
Godzilla.
Amazing view here. This is a view that we don't have on our Falcon 9 missions. This is a view looking up under the Super Heavy booster. I love the shot. You can see all 33 engines there. Now, one cool upgrade on the booster's engines, we have a new electronic thrust vector control system, or ETVCs. We previously used the hydraulic system to control the positioning of the Raptor engines, meaning we tilted them in flight using pressurized fluid. Now, hydraulics are complex, and because they're fluid-based, they have the potential to leak. Not good. So switching to an electronic system means fewer potential points of failure.
සමාවෙන්ඩ යාලුනේ මගේ
Also, we now
කැමරාවේ
carry less mass on the
සීට
vehicle because we don't need to
PC
carry
එකට
hydraulic
මේ
fluids anymore.
ගහලා තියෙන
So,
කේබල් එක එච්චර මේ
good news all
data
around.
transfer කරන්න
Now, the
නැතුව
electric system
වෙන එකක්
has
ගන්න
lots of benefits on its own. It only takes 30 minutes to activate for flight. It doesn't consume resources when inactive, and they allow for
තුන්වෙනි
regenerative
එකේදී
charging
මේ
like a Tesla battery.
හරියට එන්න
Yeah, all great things when you're trying to rapidly reuse a vehicle. Now, moving up, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and
අරුන්ගේ මේ
landing on any
අරකට
earth
කියලා
surface
දාන්න ඕනි
as
ස්ටයිල්
opposed
මේ
to taking
එක්
off
සෙකන්ඩ්
and
දෙනවා කියලා
landing
ලයිව්
on a
එක
runway like aircraft do. And that's important because there are no runways on the moon and Mars. The ship features 6 Raptor engines, 3 of which are sea level, and 3 of which are vacuum engines with an expanded nozzle, which makes them optimized to operate in the vacuum of space. The ship, at the top of the the ship is featured
මේ
with
තියෙන
4
hot
flaps
stage
as
ring එක?
well. This is a shot actually of the top of the booster where we can see the hot
කොහොමද
stage
drone shot
portion
එක? මේ
and the
drone
4
එහෙම
grid
යවන්න?
fins. Now, those flaps on the ship portion help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric reentry and flight,
මේ
and
තියෙන
will
hot
enable
stage
us to
ring
do
එක ඔය
precise
මැද්දේ තියෙන
landings.
මෙන්න
The
මේ
body of Starship is also wrapped
මෙන්න
in a
මේක.
heat shield that's made up of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles. You can see them wrapping around the top of the nose here and here in this shot of the flaps. Now, those tiles are designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry, where the temperatures can get as high as 1,500 degrees Celsius. And one of our test objectives today is to verify how those systems perform during reentry.
Yeah, now as Shiva mentioned, there between the ship and the booster, basically the top of the booster, between those 2 stages, that's our new hot stage, critical for our
මේ
new separation technique.
මොකද්ද?
As we talked about earlier,
කියන්න
we're
ගියා මොකක්ද?
constantly learning and upgrading the vehicle
මේ
after we test.
heat shield tiles මේ 18 තියෙනවලු Starship එකේ මේ hexa කියන හැඩේ මේ heat shields 18,000 තමයිලු තියෙන්නේ
A rocket with the size and power of Starship. Hot staging is a significant change from Flight 1, and we're really hoping to gather data on this highly dynamic phase of flight, and that is, once again, assuming that we even make it that far.
Of course, let's take a closer
නෑ
look
එහෙම
at
වෙන්න
what we
දෙයක්
expect
නෑනේ
hot staging to look
කලින්
like. Now, it occurs
නෑ
at about
කලින්
liftoff
රෙකෝඩ්
plus
කරපු ඒවා
2.5
නෙමෙයි
minutes. At that point, the booster will shut down most of its 33
සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ
engines, leaving just 3
drone
remaining. And the ship will ignite all 6 of its
මේ
engines.
hot stage ring එක පෙන්නනවා
Release, and then the ship will thrust away
ආන්න
from the booster.
කේස් එක ඔන්න ඕක
Now,
තමයි
this
කේස්
is
එක
the first in-flight test of the heat shield on the top of the booster and the bottom of the ship. And of
දැන්
course,
නම්
the first in-flight
දැන්
test
නම්
of
මයි
hot staging,
කනෙක්ෂන් අවුල්
hoping
ගියොත්
to
මම
gather
PC
a
එක
ton of
පොලේ
data
ගහනවා යාළුවෝ
today.
Yeah. Now, stage separation by hot staging is somewhat uncommon in spaceflight, but it has
මේ
been
මේ
done
drone
before.
drone යවද්දි මේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර මේ ට්‍රාන්ස් ඒ කියන්නේ මේ Starship එකේ ඉඳලා මේ මිෂන් කන්ට්‍රෝල් එකට තියෙන මේ සිග්නල් ට්‍රාන්ස්මිෂන් එකට මුකුත් එෆෙක්ට් එකක් එන්නත් දන්නේ නැහැ. ඔය ෆ්ලයිට් වල යද්දි ෆෝන් යූස් කරන්න එපා කියන්නේ ඒකටනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔය ඒකේ තියෙන ඔය ෆ්ලයිට් එකේ මේ එයාපෝට් එක අතර මේ තියෙන සම්බන්ධතාවයට මොකක් හරි බාධාවක් වෙයි කියලානේ ඒ වගේ එන ඉෆෙක්ට් එකකින් කවුද දන්නේ දී SpaceX එකනේ.
Ultimately, when successful, it could increase Starship's payload to orbit capacity by
Hello,
10%.
පසිදු
So,
ලක්ෂ.
more payload and more people to Mars. Hot staging also helps us maximize the vehicle's performance by leaving
තනියෙන්
those
බලනට
those
මෙහෙම
three
බලද්දි
first stage
ආතල් යාළුවනේ
engines on,
තේරුම්
so
ගන්න.
gravity can't rob us of precious velocity, or at least not as much of it. Hot staging also helps to ensure the ship's liquid propellants are at the bottom of the prop tanks, which is where we need that propellant to be in order to quickly light the ship's engines. Another reason to do hot staging, it reduces the risk at stage separation by moving to a passive by moving to a passive stage system, deleting parts and simplifying, meaning physics is going to be doing most of the work instead of mechanical parts that would otherwise be pushing the 2 stages away from each other.
That's a great summary, Kate. And of course, this required design
මේ තියෙන්නේ
changes
hit
from
මේ
Flight 1.
hot stage ring
The
එකේ
most notable of which is the interstage here. So on Flight 1, that interstage was completely enclosed. But for hot staging, the interstage portion between the booster and the ship is going to see dramatic increases in pressure and temperature. So we had to change the structure to include vents for the exhaust gases that the ship's Raptor engines will produce. Now, the 3 center engines on the ship actually gimbal, they rotate, And we're going to be gimbaling them
කොන්දත්
outwards to
අලුවනේ
reduce the
එක්සයිට්මන්ට්
forces
එක
that would be
වැඩි වෙනකොට
directly
මට කොන්දර
firing
දෙන්න
the
බැහැ.
booster and maximize the exhaust gas that's going through those vents. We've also beefed up the ship's space heat shield to withstand the higher temperatures and pressures. And for today's test, like really getting through hot staging would be a major milestone. There are some risks
Superior
associated with
Superior.
this test, but of course, the ship and booster are going to be pretty far out over the ocean in the safety zone and far away from people.
Yeah, regardless of what happens, it's going to be super exciting to watch. Now, in
මම
addition to the
SpaceX
first
එක උනා
and
නම්
second
live stream
stages
එක
of the
පටන් ගන්න
vehicle,
පැය පහකට
Starship
විතර
has a
කලින්.
third stage that we call Stage 0. This consists of the launch
ඔයාලගේ
valve,
වෙලාවට
tower, and the tank
මම
arm, all of
SpaceX
which you
එකේ
can see
අයිතිකාරයා
there
නෙමෙයි.
on your screen, as well as the pad infrastructure built around the rocket. Fun fact, it's the Guinness Book of World Records holder for the largest launch tower in the world. What a beautiful drone shot that we have here.
Guinness World එක අල්ලු
Also
මේ
important part of
ලෝකෙ
the
උසම
system, but less visible right now,
මේ launch
especially
pad එක.
because of the fog, is our new
ඔය ඉතින් වෙන්න බැරි
water-cooled
ලෝකෙ
steel
උසම
frame
rocket එකද
deflector,
ලෝකෙ
and
උසම launch
that's
pad එක
certainly a
තියෙන්න
new
නැතුව
upgrade
ඉතින්.
for this flight.
මෑ
Yeah,
භාගයක්
on
ගහලා
flight
හරියන.
one, the
ඒක නම්
Starship's
මෝඩ
launch
කතාව.
pad was damaged pretty
මේ
significantly
තියෙන
during
මේ
liftoff.
water
Those
cooled
super heavy Raptor
steel
engines
plates
fired their
පද්ධති.
full thrust into the foundation for more than 12
අඩේ
seconds.
අද වෙනම
So now
ආතල්ලයක්
we
ගන්න
have a
පුළුවන්.
new high-pressure, water-cooled steel flame deflector system that we developed and installed between the flights, and there you can see the video of it dispensing 260,000 gallons of water. And that's designed to dissipate those loads from the Raptor engines and support rapid turnaround of the launch pad with minimal refurbishment between flights. Part of our rapidly reusable launch system also means the pad infrastructure.
Yeah.
We performed multiple standalone tests and have used this new system for both the Flight 2 booster static fire tests. And we've also reinforced the pad pretty significantly from Flight 1.
Yes. Now, also part of Stage 0, we mentioned before the launch mount. Kind of hard to see there, but it's what the booster is connected to. Oh, here we can see basically the legs of the launch
එන්ජින් එක
mount.
කණ්ඩ හිතන අලුවනේ.
This is what holds Starship and all of its mass. It holds Starship during ignition, right there at the Super Heavy booster.
හරුන්ගේ
This
live එක
houses
කීදෙනෙක්
all of
බලනවද
the
දන්නේ නැහැ.
equipment needed to
බලමු.
fuel the Super Heavy booster and condition it for flight,
අම්මට
as
උන්ගේ
well as all of those
1,41,000
electrical,
බලනවා.
communication, and data connections between the ground and Starship.
Everyday astronaut
Bottom line is, it's an important
1,30,000
part of
බලනවා.
how we talk to Starship on the ground and
the
understand that it's really ready to fly.
And of course, the awesome camera shot there of those 33 Raptor engines.
Such a great
Ah,
view. We
මේක
don't have that
85
view for
බලන්න.
Falcon 9,
I
so I
wish we did.
love that we get it here. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the real game changer with Starship is not only mass to orbit capabilities, but that it's designed to be used over and over and over again with little to no downtime in between. Full and rapid reusability is the key to making routine space travel a reality, and SpaceX has been working on this since its inception.
Yeah, with SpaceX's family of Falcon launch vehicles, which are the first and only orbital class rockets capable of reflight, we started that. And Starship is going to take this even further with a reusable first and second stage. Now, while most rockets are expended after their portion of the mission, SpaceX rockets land back on Earth and are quickly returned to our hangars to prepare to
හැබැයි
refly.
ළඟටම ගෙනල්ලා
Exactly.
නැවැත්තුවොත්
In fact,
එන අවුල්නේ.
90% of all Falcon 9 boosters that have flown this year have been reused, or as we like to say, flight proven. So while launching and landing rockets may seem routine today, this was not always the case. For those of you that have been following along since our early days, you know that it took us 4 attempts before we successfully launched our first rocket to orbit. Here you see
What the
our
fuck, මං හිතුවේ
Falcon 1
ignite
Flight
කරේ.
4. 15 years
ඒගොල්ලෝ
ago in September,
පළවෙනි
that
rocket
vehicle
launch එක.
became the first
අවුරුදු
privately
15කට
developed
කලින්.
liquid-fueled launch vehicle to orbit Earth. If Falcon 1
Nice.
Flight 4 had not succeeded, it would have meant the end
August.
of SpaceX.
engine
And
sensor
our
failed.
first successful landings didn't come easily. We had to miss the target a few times before we ultimately stuck the landing.
Respect.
But each of these landing attempts of how to not land an orbital rocket
Oops.
were teaching us what we needed to know in a flight-like environment to get that full picture of how all the systems interacted together.
Oh man, yeah, this is me trying to not get goosebumps watching this first drone ship landing. I hosted
Aniva,
that
bro.
webcast, and it was so
Aniva,
exciting
Aniva,
to
Aniva.
see that iterative development
පුළුවන්
approach
කරන්න
we
පුළුවන්
took
කරන්න
finally
පුළුවන්.
paid off after so many attempts of
දැන් ලොකු එකක්
failing.
බැරි වුණත් පොඩි එකක්
Now
හරි
that
යවු.
failure is
කොහොම හරි.
expected to help improve
අපේ
future
ඒවානේ
designs of
ISR
our vehicles and
ඉතින්
systems.
ISR එක
So
වගේ වෙන්න
fast
අපිට බෑ
forward
ඇත්තට
to
මේ
present day.
මොකද
We've landed
ඒගොල්ලෝගේ
F9
Budget
boosters
ඒවා
over
ඔක්කොම
245
සහ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒවා
times since
පටන්
our
අරන්
first
තියෙන මේ NASA එකට
reflight
එමත්
Apollo
කලින්
class booster 6 years ago.
මේ
Yeah, and
නෑ
it really
NASA එකට
comes down
කලින්
to our
නෙමෙයි.
design philosophy.
ඒ කියන්නේ
If you're
ඒගොල්ලෝ
not
පළවෙනි
failing
සැටලයිට්
in
එහෙම
some
ප්‍රවාහනය
way,
කරලා තියෙන ගොන් කරත්
then
වලින්. ඒ
there's
කියන්නේ
room to
වාහනයක්වත්
learn
නැති
and
කාලේ
push
තමයි
the
ඒගොල්ලෝ
design to
ස්පේස්
improve.
එක්ස්ප්ලොරේෂන්
And
පටන්
failing
ගන්න.
doesn't just mean blowing up a rocket. It might
අපි
be
කොහෙද ඉන්නේ
not being
තාම
as efficient as
හිතලවත්
we want to
තියෙන.
be or producing slower than we want to. So that
අපිට ඉතින්
approach has been
පටන්
the
ගන්න
basis
පුළුවන්.
of how
ඉදිරි
we've made
පරම්පරාවලට
all of our
කරගෙන
major
යන්න.
innovative advancements.
ඉදිරි පරම්පරාවට හොරකම් කිරීම සඳහා අපිට පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
All right. Now, Falcon 9 has certainly come a long way, and Starship will too. But as a reminder, today is a test. We really hope to get to stage separation, but any data received will help us improve. It's the second of many future flight tests of Starship before it becomes fully operational.
And these flight tests teach us about the limits
එහෙම
of our
කියන්න
design.
එපා.
They help us improve our understanding of the vehicle and ultimately will help us to make Starship more reliable and rapidly reusable. So again, whatever the outcome and however far we get today, we can promise excitement. So why are we doing all of
ලංකාව
this?
උගතුන්ට
Why do we
සලකන්න.
need a rocket this big and why does it need to be
ලංකාවේ
reusable so quickly? And that answer goes back to SpaceX's mission, which is to
උගතුන්ට
make life
ඔව්
multi-planetary.
සලකන්න
We
නෙත්
aren't
නෑ
just
නෙමෙයි
building
කියන්නේ
a
මේ
new
වැඩක් ගන්න
spacecraft,
නෑනේ.
we're changing what it means
ඔව්
to
ඉතින්
go
දෙකම
to
එකයි.
space. By building the most powerful rocket ever flown and a ship designed to carry people, cargo, habitat, satellites, and more, we're unlocking a future where our dreams of exploration will no longer
ඉරාවට
exceed our grasp. And this mission
රාවණා
continues with
10
flights
කියලා
like
පොතක්
today's
තිබුණා.
integrated test.
සිරාවට
And these are flights where we're gonna
මට
fail
මේක
fast,
පොඩ්ඩක්
but
මේ
learn
ඉන්ස්ටාග්‍රෑම්
even
එකේ හරි
faster,
මට
where each time
මේ
we're gonna
මැසේජ්
try
එකක් දාන්න
something
පුළුවන්.
new while flying
මයි
something that we've
කියවන්න
improved. And ultimately, that's going to build up a fleet to fly early and often as Starship rapidly evolves to become more capable and more reliable.
The first stop is our nearest neighbor, a surface
Hey,
that
not
hasn't
that.
seen visitors in more than 50 years. Under Artemis with NASA, Starship will return people back to the moon. After those first expeditions, we'll be ready to fly more people along with
ISR එක
everything that it
ස්ටෝරි
takes
ගැන
to
කියලා
build a moon base.
වීඩියෝ කරන්න ඕනේ.
Think
ISR
about
එක නම් මං
that.
සෑහෙන්න
Hardware
මේ
that
හෙව්වා
will
මේ ටිකේ.
enable us to live on another world is sitting on a launch pad
ඊයට දෙවන්න
on
යනවා
Earth
මිනිස් 10
right
minutes
now.
bro 10 minutes.
And
10
the moon is
minutes.
just the proving ground. When the time comes to
10
make that
minutes
leap to
නෙමෙයි.
Mars, everything gets ratcheted up by orders of
9
magnitude.
30.
The logistics of supporting an entire city on Mars are daunting, requiring millions of pounds of cargo flown from Earth spread out over thousands of launches. We just broke our own record for the number of launches in a single year.
එක්ක
and
මට
we're going
heart
to break
attack
it again
හැදෙනවා
next
එක්ක
year.
මුන් රොකට් එක
Now,
යනවා.
in the years to come, Starship is going to dwarf those figures as we bring it online and truly make life multiplanetary. But for now, anyway, as the clock counts down to
දාතම්
today's
බලන්
flight
ඉන්න.
test, why don't we get another status update from John?
We're just over 9 minutes from liftoff as the countdown clock flicks to 0. The team,
hell,
good
man.
news is teams aren't working any significant issues on the launch vehicle right now. Propellant loading is continuing on both the Super Heavy and the ship stages. Most recently, we began loading LOX and methane fuel into the header tanks on the Starship. And on the graphic on the left side of the screen, you can see
96
up
දැන්
at the
බිල්ලදී.
nose of the second stage, what we call Starship, are those two header tanks for fuel and liquid oxygen. Now that loading started at T-minus 24 minutes and will continue until approximately T-minus 5.5 minutes. Now Starship's second stage main fuel and LOX tanks are loaded for flight.
ඔව් ආටමිස්
The
1
second
එකෙත්
stage
මතකයි නේ.
propellant we're loading on
මොකක්ද
board
ඒකේ
is
උනේ?
going through the quick disconnect.
ඒකෙත් ළඟටම
Comes
ඇවිල්ලා
out
මං
on the
හිතන්නේ
arm
මොකක්
that's
කරේ.
located
ආ
at the
ඔව්නේ.
base of the stage from the tower. On the Super
නෑනේ
Heavy
ආටමිස්
booster,
1 එක
propellant
මම හිතන්නේ
loading
ඒගොල්ලෝ
will
රිපෙයාර් කරලා
continue
යවුවා
until
නේ.
T-minus
එදා
3 minutes. We've also
මට
configured
මතක
the
විදියට
pad
ඒගොල්ලෝ
for
අර
liftoff.
හතර
A
දෙනෙක්ගේ
little
ටීම්
earlier
එකක්
in the
යවලා
count, the hold downs, the booster hold downs were commanded to unlatch. That means once the rocket has sufficient
සිරාවට
thrust to overcome
ISR
its
එකේ
weight,
මේ
it'll
ලයිව් එකේ
lift off the pad.
යද්දි මොකද්ද
There's no
මේ
need to
මොකද්ද
command the hold
ලිෆ්ට්
downs to
ලිෆ්ට්
release
ඔෆ්
the rocket.
නෝමල් කියනවා.
As we mentioned earlier, also,
මරුවේ.
the ignition sequence has been slightly
මගේ යාළුවෝ
modified
ඉන්නවා
for the
මෙහෙ
last
මේ
flight
ඉන්දියාවේ
for
සෑහෙන්න
more
මේ
efficient liftoff.
මහත්තයෝ මෙකැනිකල්
As a
ඉංජිනේරින්
reminder,
කරන.
we ignite the engines a
මේ
few seconds before T0.
මොන ආතල්.
We don't lift off exactly
මේ-
at T0. We lift off a few seconds later, couple seconds. Finally, the SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast
ඔව්
Guard
ඒගොල්ලෝ
to
අර
ensure
හතර
there are
දෙනෙක්ගේ
no
මොකද්ද
boats in
ඒකට
the
කියනන්
safety
මේ ඒ
perimeter
ටීම්
before
අම්මර්සි
proceeding
අම්මර්සි
with launch out over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, currently, we're coming up T-minus 7 minutes, 10 seconds for the test flight of Starship. Pilot loading is continuing on both stages
ඔව්
of
no human
Starship.
mission නෑ මම කිව්වේ මේ
We're
අර
waiting now
හතර
for the
දෙනෙක් යවගේ
completion
මිනිස්සු
of
නෙමේ
loading of
ඔයාට
water
මතකද මේ
tanks
අර
in the
හතර
next few
දෙනෙක්ගේ
minutes.
ටීම් එකක් යව්වේ මේ
The
ඒක
first
මේ
stage is
මොකද්ද මේ
also
හයිඩ්‍රජන්
beginning
ලීක් එකක් නේ තිබ්බේ
pressurization for flight
මේ
while we are
වෙන්ටිලේෂන්
continuing
එක
to load
මොකක් හරි
propellant
ලීක්
into it.
එකක් තිබිලා ඒක හැදුවා හතර
Again,
දෙනෙක්ගේ
booster
ටීම් එකක් යවලා
propellant load
මං
will
හිතන්නේ
finish
හතර
in
දෙනාට පස්සේ මොන හරි
approximately
ඔය
6 minutes.
සම්මාන එහෙම දීලා මොකක් හරි කේස් එකකුත් ගියා ඒ කියන්නේ
That stage, where
ඒගොල්ලෝගේ අර
first and second
නිර්භීතකමට
stages
ඒ
are
වගේ අර
fully loaded,
ෆුලි ලෝඩඩ් වෙලා
we'll
තියෙන
have the 10
රොකට්
million
එකක්
pound
කවුද
liquid
ගිහිල්ලා එහෙම හත් දෙනවා
propellant
කියන්නේ
on
ආතල්
board
එක්ක
the
කොහොමද
two stages of Starship. On the next few minutes, the guidance system will perform its final alignment. We'll get the automated flight termination system that'll arm, and the final TVC checkout will be performed. We may get a view looking up at the engines as we gimbal the 13
මට නම්
middle
heart
engines
attack එකක්
and check them out just before
මට heart
liftoff in
attack
about
එකක්
10
මැරුණොත්
minutes, 90
එහෙම
seconds.
අපේ අම්මට පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න යාළු
If we need to hold, it would come at T minus 40 seconds. That's the point in the countdown where we can pause to wait for final checkouts or pressurization to complete. Or as we're hearing right now, we're still working a few boats in the area that are headed south. A lot of cheering here in Hawkins. Boats are heading south, but we are still planning to hold at T minus 40 seconds if necessary.
what the fuck
Just amazing views of today's launch. There's nothing quite right like a launch at basically sunrise. Sunrise, I think, was just about 10 or 15 minutes ago out at Starbase.
Yeah, these views are just incredible. Couldn't ask for a more beautiful day to attempt a test flight here. Again, these are
යකෝ
live
ඉලෝන්
views
මස්ක්
of
නැතිද මෙච්චර
Starship
එක
as it awaits its second integrated flight test. Our primary objective today is to get through stage separation. We really want to test out our attempt to perform hot staging, where we are going to ignite the engines on the second stage while some of the engines on the first stage are still lit. So essentially both stages will be making fire at the same time. And that will push the booster away from the ship. It'll separate the
මන්න
two
උඩ
stages.
පයින්නවා
So
යාළුවනේ
that's the primary goal for today. We really hope to be able to test that out. But at the end of the day, all and any data that we can collect is going to be incredibly helpful and help inform future improvements and iterations of the vehicle.
Yeah, Kate. There are other objectives for today too, assuming we get farther than stage separation. There's goals to test out how reentry goes on the ship portion. If the booster survives stage separation, then it's going to try a boost back burn and hopefully a soft landing as a sort of dress rehearsal for what it would look like on land. So everything coming up to that big design change, though, of hot staging today.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, that booster, it will be attempting a water landing in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't intend to recover any of the hardware for either the ship or the booster today. But that booster, yeah, we want to try and demonstrate controlled ascent through most engine cutoff. We want to try to demonstrate that hot staging separation and boost back flip, trying to basically demonstrate controlled burn and entry and that soft water landing. Like you said, it will help inform when we attempt a land landing, but we start in the water first.
Exactly.
Just like we did with the Falcon 9.
Yeah, exactly. And just getting to hot staging, though, is going to be farther than we got on Flight 1.
Yes.
Flight 1, that was about as far as we got. We didn't have hot staging on that vehicle. So
Yeah,
that's the first and foremost objective today. Get that far, hopefully.
ඊ මොන්න සිරාවට මිතුනේ අද ලොන්ච් කරයි මෙච්චර
Now, one
දුරක්
thing that's
එයි
a
කියලා
little cool about Starship, and it's different from Falcon 9, is we can actually hold a little bit longer if we needed to than we can on Falcon 9 missions. Once we get to T minus 40 seconds, and if we did have a hold, depending on the reason for the hold, we can hold for up to 30 minutes. And today, actually, our entire launch window is about 20 minutes, so the whole duration would cover most of our launch window.
Yeah.
And that's different from Falcon.
Yeah, absolutely. With Falcon, we have to go exactly at T0. That 40-second hold is super helpful. If we need to, for example, we need more time to pressurize the COPVs for flight levels. Perhaps fuel.
If the engineers just need to look at some of the data, see how engines are performing or the avionics.
Exactly. Those checkouts, being
T40
able
hold
to
Mä tänne
have the
T40
opportunity
enemy.
to top off the fuel or locks if it's not fully loaded, and we might want to
Mission
just give a
control
few more minutes for
එකකින් මම
that.
හිතන්නේ
So that
පාලනය යනවා
T-minus 40
ටිකුත්
second
නේ
hold
මේ
can
මේක
be really
flight control
helpful,
system එක
but
බලමු.
we don't have that option on Falcon, so it's
මං
a
හිතන්නේ
little
අද
bit
හෝ
different here.
අනේ වන්දෝයි මට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ.
We're just inside T-minus 2 minutes. And counting. The good news right now we're hearing it doesn't look like we're going to need to hold at T-minus 40 seconds as the boats are clearing out of the way.
What the fuck is...
Next event coming up, TVC wiggles as we move the center engines on the first stage. You can see maybe just a little bit there. 90 seconds, wiggles are underway as we're checking out the first stage.
What the... Launch කරනවා නේද?
TVC checks are complete. Next major event we're going to hear, hopefully, is the flight director go for launch at T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 30 seconds වලින්. තව තප්පර දෙකකින්
We're
කියන.
coming up on T-minus 1 minute. When we get to
What
T-minus
the
30
fuck?
seconds, we'll just listen in. Last time, as you recall, we did hold at 40 seconds. It took a few seconds for the clock to recover, so we're going to watch that. And as we press to T0, we're going to watch and listen the second test flight of Starship.
අයියෝ. hold. hold එක නෑ. What?
T-minus 30 seconds.
යවනවා.
Back around. Recycle.
Huh? මොකද? අපිට 41 seconds වලට ආයෙ දැම්මනේ. මොකක් හරි කේස් එකක් වුණා.
Back at Hawk,
No.
we're at T-minus 40 seconds in holding. We had a rapid recycle. We've not heard anything over the countdown net as the team works both first and second stages. We're going to monitor the nets here for a minute.
මොකක් හරි චෙක් කරනවා මොකක් හරි හෝල්ඩ් කරා මොකක් හරි සීන් එකක් තියෙනවා.
Got a little bit of an update. We're continuing to hold at T-minus 40 seconds. This is the normal hold point for Starship, as we talked earlier.
මේක normal hold
Sounds like
point.
we're working just late pressurization on, I believe, the
pressurization එක check කරනවා.
Team is working it. All the other systems are on hold right now at 40 seconds. We can hold here for about 15 minutes or so before we would run out of window for this morning.
මම හිතන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ පටන් ගන්න තියෙන window එක තමයි. විනාඩි 20.
Right now they're working on filling pressure vessels. And ideally we'll be able to solve this and come back and release the clock at T-minus 40 seconds. We're going to continue to listen and monitor for another few minutes.
Then it's worth mentioning here that don't go away. We are holding at T-minus 40 seconds, but once the teams have resolved and see the data that they want to see, the clock can restart straight away, and it'll start ticking down from T-minus 40 again, all towards liftoff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, while we do have the ability to hold for up to 30 minutes, we only have a 20-minute launch window, so don't go away. Don't change the channel. Just like Shiva said, we can restart that
යකෝ
clock.
යන්න එපා කියලා කියනවා. channel එක මාරු කරන්න තව.
Clock is rolling.
යවන.
T-minus 30 seconds.
යවනවා. ආතල්ලන් දෙන්න එපා. Ui. 5, 4, Aduh. Aduh. Aduh, lag. What the fuck? Yeah. Aduh, kok nasrain. Diam ay. Aduh.
We are T-plus 40 seconds into the flight.
Diam ay engine nakakot down na.
Booster and ship, power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard
Down na engine nakakot. Diam ay. Aduh. Aduh, diam ay. Kilometer ko lai.
call out tells us Starship is through the period of greatest stress on the way to space. Now, the next major event is hot staging in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor engines. Clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship's second stage will ignite its engine.
Yeah.
Starship will then separate from the Super Heavy booster and head to space. And at the same time, the 3 engines that are still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
අනේ ආතල් නම් දෙන්න එපා.
Engine power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines. We're about to shut down the first stage and perform staging. Let's watch and listen.
Stage separation. Cool.
And acquisition of signal Houston and New Orleans.
ඔක්කොම shut down කළා.
Engine cut off.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation.
Boost back startup.
Yeah. Aduh.
Incredible views of our Super Heavy booster.
අප්පට.
And as you can see, the Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly.
Boost එක විපුරුවව.
However, our ship is still underway with all 6.
Boost එක විපුරුවා.
And we just heard there, ship avionics, power and telemetry nominal. All 6 engines are lit, as you can see from the GUI there.
අඩු.
Bottom right-hand side of your screen.
Starship එක යනවා. Boost එක විපුරුවා.
Know that the that hot staging was going to be incredibly dynamic. We knew that there was a chance that the booster would not survive, but we're going to take that data and figure out how we can make the booster better for the next hot stage.
Staging put a lot of load on the top of the booster, and of course it flipped around there. A lot of dynamic stuff happening. But ship is still going strong.
And it's doing great. Right now, the ship, the second stage, is on its way. Like we said, you can see all 6 of its engines are ignited. The next major milestone for the ship will be the shutdown of those engines, or SECO, second engine cutoff, which if you follow our Falcon 9 model, familiar terminology there. So far, today has been incredibly successful, even with the heavy booster. This is amazing.
Primary objective of the booster today to get to hot staging, to get ship on its way to orbit. it did that admirably.
Yeah, we definitely asked.
Starship trajectory nominal.
All right, great news there. That trajectory for ship is
Acquisition of
nominal.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
Once again, Starship's second stage. It's firing those
යාළුවනේ
engines,
මොනාද කියන්න
and as you just heard, everything's looking good. Now, for the ship, we wanted it to survive hot staging, which, as you can see there by that little dot on your screen, it did. We also want to basically demonstrate that the successful startup of those engines, demonstrating controlled ascent, which is what it's doing right now. And eventually, we are hoping to basically send this around the Earth. And if it makes it this far, splash down in the Pacific Ocean, a couple hundred miles north of Hawaii. Now, if we get that far, like all of that sounds great. Secondary objectives for ship, again, continuing to gather engine data and about its health, performance.
Nominal ship chamber pressures.
Great news there. That tells us that the chamber pressures inside of the Starship, again, that's that small dot on your screen. Basically the propellant pressures in the ship are looking good.
Yeah, the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see essentially a user interface showing us which engines are lit. So the 3 center sea level Raptor engines on ship are gimbaling engines. The 3 outer engines in the triangle, the larger ones, are Raptor vacuum engines. All of them continuing to fire nominally. So they're at the pressures that we expect to try to get into our target trajectory today.
Yeah.
And we're not targeting orbit today. We're targeting almost orbit today. That's very intentional as part of the mission design. The goal is to get to a thrust profile similar to what we would need for orbit, but also to get to the energy levels that the ship would need to dissipate for re-entry. And so we're actually going in a suborbital trajectory today, but that trajectory will get us to the energy levels that we need at re-entry, where we can really stress that heat shield and get valuable data on re-entry. And those calls that we are still on a nominal trajectory here and seeing nominal pressures means that we have a really good shot of hitting our target orbit.
Yeah. Now, if the booster had survived, we would be around the time where it would be getting ready to land, performing its re-entry, but it unfortunately did not survive. That being said, that's okay. It survived several seconds after hot staging, so we're going to take that data and improve the hot staging sequence and probably improve the hardware itself for the next flight.
අම්බෝ ඒ මොකක්ද උනේ බ්ලාස්ට් වුණා නේද මොකක්ද උනේ ඒ මොකක්ද උනේ
They're standing by for a call out here. Coming up on the projected time that ship would shut down its engines.
Okay.
As you can tell by the excitement from the crowd here at Mission
Control
Center.
There's a great view of our Star Command Center. That's our control center at Starbase, Texas. The crowd here behind us in Hawthorne, everyone is super exciting. What a successful day this has been so far. What the fuck is going on, man?
Up to this point, major successful milestones through hot staging, which was the big objective today. So we are going to head into the coast phase, planned for the next about hour and 5 minutes. We'll be returning around the T+1 hour and 15-minute mark. And that's while we're waiting for Starship to continue on to its next step for reentry. We're not totally sure what video we're going to get. And that video comes normally by overflying ground stations, but we don't have a ton along our flight path. So fingers crossed that we will get some via Starlink on this mission since we're testing that out. And also give us a moment. We are hearing some chatter on the net, so we're going to try to parse that for you.
John Innsbrucker back here in Hawthorne at our webcast desk. We have lost the data from the second stage. We had heard a call out that we were internal guidance, which means we were getting near the end of the approximately 6-minute burn of Starship.
Decam blast.
But we haven't gotten any more data since then. So we think we may have lost the second stage. So we would not be into coast phase. We wouldn't be able to come back in an hour or so and possibly get ready for reentry. However, what we do know right now is we had an on-time launch.
Ada trigger karna Facebook එකම.
We got through the boats. First stage looked beautiful with 33 Raptor engines firing. We got the hot staging, you know, the thing that we really wanted to see and impressed. We saw the separation. We saw the flip maneuver. We saw the light up of the 6 Raptor engines on Starship, and it headed away. Everything really looked good. But what we do believe right now is that the automated flight termination system on second stage appears to have triggered very late in the burn as we were headed downrange out over the Gulf of Mexico. But the real topping on the cake today, that successful liftoff, Kate, Shiva, the hot staging is just beautiful. Exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, ultimately, honestly, such an incredibly successful day. Even though we did have a RUD or a rapid unscheduled disassembly of both
Amazing.
the Super Heavy booster and the ship, that's great. We got so much data, and that will all help us to improve for our next flight.
Of course, and that's why we flight test, and you can bet that there's going to be more to come. So we really do want to thank you all for joining us. Of course, we want to thank the people of Cameron County. We want to thank all the federal agencies that have supported us for our tests. And of course, a huge congratulations to the entire SpaceX team on getting through this flight test today. And I think with that, we're going to sign off from here in Hawthorne.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
අම්මෝ මොකද්ද සිද්ධ වුනේ? මොකක්ද සිද්ධ වුනේ? ආවා ආයෙ ගියා. ආතල්ල සුපිරිය. සුපිරිය. Fuck. යාළුවනේ හරි පවසන්න. අන්තිමටික ඒගොල්ලු මේ ඩේට ලොස්ටුනා කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ මේ පිපුරුව කියලා ඒකෙන් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ අඳුරගත්තේ. කියන්නේ එන්ජින් වලින් එන ඩේටා ලොස්ට් වෙලා ඒගොල්ලෝ. යකෝ මට කොපිරයිට් වදී මේක නතර ගන්න. අම්මෝ
truly see if that's actually something that was there before. In any case, I wouldn't be surprised. It didn't seem like there was a lot of concrete like the last time. It did appear that the water deluge worked as intended. I'm currently reviewing all of our feeds as we speak, and so yeah, trying to process everything.
And I'll tell you what, a real tip of the hat again to our team out there in the field. We got some great imagery from our cameras. What you saw mostly was from us out there at Starbase. And wow, what a flight! I'm still trying to process everything here.
Yes.
You too, because I know
Yes. Yako, yes.
really hard at making sure.
හරි යාළුවනේ මම මේක එන්ඩ් කරනවා මට පිස්සු වගේ.
We're seeing
අපි එහෙනම් මේ
of the launch
හෙට දිහාට ආයේ
a lot better to me
හම්බෙලා කතා කරමු.
initial look than it did
මේක මොකද වුනේ කියලා.
they fired Starship off. So that's a good sign.
පැඩ් එක දත්තේ.
Yeah,
I don't know මේ
this-
අම්මට සිටි සුපිරියට
I
තියනවා
mean,
නේ.
this looks
ආ මම මේ
pretty
ට්‍රාන්සිෂන්
much,
කරලා නැහැ.
normal, I would say. But
පැඩ් එක නියමයට
the
තියෙනවා.
dent is new on the left tank, but if it's only a dent on a tank,
ඔය පැඩ්
that's
එක
like
ඉන්නේ තියෙන්නේ.
I take that. I take that
Yeah.
every single day. And of course, we are working on replays. We are working on other angles. We will get all of that to you. Just stay tuned with us. We are getting there. It's quite a lot, and it's also kind of overwhelming for all of us because we are also fans about this, right? So
Yeah, right.
um,
And
Bye,
that's
Yaluni,
part
bye,
why
bye.
we like to be
Jai
quiet
Ho.
during the launch time so we can enjoy it too, because we're all watching this together, which is